Okay, should be recording now.
Okay. Thank you for joining me today, Marcelle.
No problem.
And thank you to everyone who's watching. So, this is Marcelle. I'm going to let her introduce herself to you. Suffice to say, I've asked her to join us today because she is an advocate for mental health awareness. So, Marcelle, over to you. Please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. My name is Marcelle. I born and raised in South Africa. I'm 28 right now, but I feel like I'm 30. I used to work in corporate. I think I very interested in marketing and went to work in corporate for a bit. But over the last 12 months, I've been taking a gap year because I burnt myself out at work, and it led me into depression and anxiety. But I've taken these 12 months to take care of myself and focus on other things that I like to enjoy. And I guess that's what's brought me to today, where I'm now ready to go back into corporate and start working again.
Well done, you. So, how did you recognize the symptoms of being burnt out?
Well, I think at first I didn't. I didn't recognize that I was burnt out, and I didn't recognize that I was depressed or anxious. I just thought that I wasn't doing enough. I thought that I just need to like sleep and then I'll get over it, or I just need to rest. I'm doing a bit too much, or there's just a little thing that could fix it. I didn't recognize that there was like something bigger that I needed to focus on and take care and listen to myself. So it actually got to a point where my body was like, this is enough. Like we cannot keep going. We cannot think anymore. We cannot do anything. There were so many signs. Now that I look back, I'm like, there were so many signs of how I was burnt out and why I was burnt out, but I didn't recognize it at all. It was only when I had a conversation with someone I worked with. They were like, what's happening? You used to be a top performer, and like, so what is going on with you? And I was telling them, no, I started to take medication for my anxiety because I was seeing a psychologist. I was trying to make a decision about resigning from work, but I couldn't. I think I felt a little bit trapped. And then I went to this thing called a day clinic in Johannesburg, and they helped me recognize the symptoms of what I was going through. Yeah.
That's really good. That's really good. So, what is the support for mental health like there in South Africa?
I think that right now it's still building up. There's a lot of awareness and a lot of conversations about it. And even in corporates, I see them recognizing it. And you no longer have to be physically sick to maybe take a day off from work. So I think there's a lot of movement towards recognizing mental health. But I think that it's a very recent thing. So people are still getting used to it, trying to understand it. I think even myself, I thought that there had to be reasons why you would have depression, or something that would lead you into depression or lead you into anxiety, but it's a chemical imbalance. You might be born with it, might be created, you might be burnt out, and it leads to that. So I think, like, especially online, there's a lot of conversation about it. In terms of the right resources in South Africa, the only place that I know of is the day clinic, but I was lucky enough to go to a psychologist that knew about this day clinic and then advised it to me. I think there's a lot of people that I know right now in South Africa that see psychologists. Lots of people maybe everyone in my friend group sees a psychologist, or in my generation and my age group see psychologists. So I think there's definitely support that's available, whether it's professionals that you can go see, or even online resources that you can look for information from, or places that you can go to get help. I think that there's a lot.
That's brilliant. So, would you say that there's still much of a stigma attached to mental health and to the term mental illness?
Yeah, I think the only thing that I think I would compare it to is, like, in apartheid, there were generations of people who were raised under this, like, apartheid,
Yeah.
the laws.
Mm.
and therefore like indoctrinated and have a specific perspective of the way they'll see races. I
Mm.
think it's a very similar thing. It's not because people are now getting aware that they are accepting of it or they fully understand it. I mean, I've known about depression and anxiety for a long time, but I was in denial about having it myself because I was like, oh, other people, you have to have an extremely traumatic something happen to you for you to be in this situation, or thinking that only other people, it happens to other people, and being very compassionate towards other people in my life and not recognizing it in myself.
Yeah.
So if you're not able to recognize it in yourself, I can only imagine how difficult it is for people who might even be in your life to understand it, or what is it like. You haven't really had a very traumatic life, so why are you depressed? It's usually that kind of thing around it. So I think more people are aware, but I think the understanding, there's still more work to be done. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. So tell me how you got into, because you have your own YouTube channel, don't you? You can give it a plug, yeah?
Yeah. How I got into the YouTube channel. You know, like just like the title says, like it's called Today I Made a Mistake, and I came across it by mistake. It was around the time I was leaving work, and I never ever planned to ever start a YouTube channel. I mean, I'm putting my stories out there, and it makes you very vulnerable, and people will have something to say, and these are things that sometimes I would only share with my closest friends. I'm not someone who's very open. So to have a YouTube channel where I'm now sharing all my stories, all my thoughts, all my feelings is very weird. So that is also how the name came about. It was a mistake. I was having a conversation with a friend. They were like, oh, I would watch a channel if you were telling your stories on the channel. And I had an idea just to make one video, spoke to my sister about it. She loved it. And then we've just been working on it since. It's very organic how it came about, and the videos that we do, whatever the stories are that come to us, we'll work on that and then make a video and put it out there. But there really wasn't, I never ever expected to start a YouTube channel. It's
Well done.
it's a very weird.
I'm glad you did, Marcelle, because you inspired me to start my YouTube channel, actually. Because I thought, well, you know, if Marcelle can do it and raise awareness, why can't I? Why can't I try to destigmatize mental health? Because I have a friend who said to me on Saturday night, I went out to the pub for the first time since January, and she leaned in and whispered in my ear, how are you? Because you have mental health. And I was really taken aback, because she's somebody who seems to be quite aware, you know, she's an intelligent person. She doesn't normally say such stupid things. And that was a stupid thing for her to say. And I didn't say, but I just thought, aren't you ignorant? Because everyone has mental health. Mental health is a continuum. You're either mentally well, or you're starting to experience the symptoms, or you're in a full-blown crisis, or you're in recovery. But everybody is somewhere on this continuum. How did you find your family's reaction to your disclosure of your mental illness? And
So
to your openness about your story?
So related to my family and how they responded to it, I've felt extremely supported by them. While my family and my friends didn't understand, or there were a lot of people who responded and they were like, I never ever saw you like that. Whenever I used to speak to you, I never expected this to happen to you. And like, I guess it just doesn't work like that. So even with your friend that asked you like how are you because you have mental health, like, yeah, mental health is just it's such a buzzword now that people don't even know what they're saying anymore. But it's probably because she didn't know what to say or how to ask or what. And that's what I find is that people are genuinely concerned, but they're not sure if they're going to say something that will trigger you, or they're going to say something like they don't know how to respond to it. And I found myself in those situations as well before I went through it myself. Is that I think that's maybe where the awareness also lacks is, how do you react? How do you respond? Should you be more sensitive? Should you watch what you say, or should you just continue as normal? Like, but that to me sounds like a whole journey. So going back to answering your question, I it was a long time coming for me. Like having I call it a breakdown. I had a breakdown where I just couldn't like work anymore. I couldn't continue. I was so drained. And the people around me could see it. They could see, I mean, I was working from maybe 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. continuously, and then working on the weekends. And once I remember finishing work at 6 p.m. and I just couldn't focus, I went to my parents. This was during lockdown. Went to my parents and I was like, I need to resign. I need to resign, So they saw me when I was staying in their house during lockdown. I wasn't present. I wasn't around. I wasn't aware of anybody else that was around me. I was just so consumed by this. I was consumed by work, and that was draining me, and that is what led to the depression and the anxiety. So because they saw all of this happening, I think when I went through it, um it wasn't, I'm sure it was shocking, but it wasn't as shocking. And I think that they did as much as they could to support me, from my friends and my family. And I've said once before that I felt like they were a safety net. Like they saw that I was going to fall one day. They didn't know when it was going to happen. They tried to warn me myself, like, you can't keep this. You can't keep, but I wouldn't listen because I felt like I knew what I was doing. And then it happened. And then you just deal with it once it happened. So I think I was very lucky, because I know other people who don't have the same support or understanding. So even sometimes when people lack the awareness, their response is quite negative. Like, what do you mean you're depressed? Why are you sad? But that's not what depression is. Depression is not sadness. Or even people that would say to me, I could see it in you. And I would say to them, like, I didn't even see it in myself. I did not know that I was depressed. Because it comes out in symptoms like having a messy room, but you think, my room is messy because I'm lazy and I just procrastinate in cleaning. But there's this thing that's weighing you down and draining your energy, and that is why your space is a mess, and it's a reflection of your mental state.
Yeah.
But yeah, that there's because it's a spectrum, there's just like so much understanding. I'm sure there's many people who have somewhere on the spectrum, because it's ADHD. There's a lot of people who have ADHD, and only now, far into their adulthood, are they realizing that they have had this attention deficit disorder. And throughout their childhood, they might have even been punished, like, you don't pay attention, you're naughty, you don't listen. But it's because their brain is working so much faster, and they need to be more challenged. So yeah, it's I think it's a difficult thing for people to understand. It's about awareness, and then it's about understanding, and then it's about knowing how to deal with it, and then it's about knowing how to interact with other people, from someone who knows someone with a mental health condition, and someone who has a mental health condition.
That's right. So you talk about now, a year later, you're ready to go back to work. Have you come through, or are you still on your journey to recovery?
No, I definitely think that I've been in a space and like worked through it, learned how to deal with it and cope with it, because it doesn't go away. I don't think. I don't think it goes away. I definitely have bouts of like anxiety where I think, oh my gosh, my friends hate me. Like everybody hates me. I'm just a horrible person. I'm a bad person. When it's not even true. That's just thoughts that I'm having in my mind. But I've learned how to cope with it. So if I'm having that, I have high anxiety, I know how to identify that actually this is not just my friends not liking me. This is me having anxious thoughts, or me being in the situation. Okay, recognizing it and then being able to deal with it. And I think 6 months ago, I was very much in a place, even though I had already started on the journey, I didn't want to go back to work. I was scared. I thought, what if I go back to work and I go back into this state? But now I'm so excited to go back to work. I'm so excited to be back in that environment and working, and I guess have a different kind of purpose. I feel like I've explored different parts of my life, and that's what's also brought me to be ready to go back. And I will also know how to recognize if I've pushed myself too far. like a small example is when I used to work, or when I was in corporate, I think I would have like 3 cappuccinos before lunchtime. And now that I not had been in that kind of environment, I don't drink coffee at all. If I even have 1 cup of coffee and it's not decaf, I will not be able to sleep. And that signifies to me how much of my energy I was using because I was drinking coffee to cope
Yeah.
and keep up. And now that I don't have that energy drained, if I have coffee, it's too much for me. My heart rate goes up. It's small things like that that you learn about yourself that you're able to recognize. And if I go into that state again, I'll be able to know like, whoa, actually, I'm having too much coffee. There's something that's wrong here. So it's stuff like that that I've learned.
So you've talked about dealing with it. Tell us about some of your coping mechanisms that you've developed.
Coping mechanism. So, one of the things that I do now is yoga. I really like yoga because one of the things that I've learned and been practicing to do is listening to my body.
Mm-hmm.
Because what got me into the situation is that I wasn't eating throughout the day because I was so focused on work. So it would come to the end of the day and I'd have my first meal. I wasn't sleeping properly because my mind was working so much. So all these physical things were taking care of myself, something that I was not doing. And I wasn't listening to my body when my body was saying, hey, we're hungry, hey, we're tired, or whatever. I was just going, going, going. And your mind is very strong. Your mind can keep you going for a very long time. So for me, it's listening. Like if you're hungry right now, don't prolong that hunger. Go eat. That is it's as simple as that to take care of yourself. And if you're tired, why are you still going? Go rest. So it's things like listening to my body and recognizing what my body wants right now. I'm thirsty, giving myself some water so I can operate. Then other things, and yoga's helped me with that movement of my body, understanding my body, recognizing the feelings. Meditations, I have this app, it's called Insight Timer, and it's a free app, and I think it's global, and you just have access to so many different kinds of meditations, talks, guided meditations, and listening to those things have helped me a lot.
Yeah.
Just to check out. So sometimes at night, if I feel like I can't sleep, I'm able to like close off everything and then just yeah, like, okay, or like what is happening here? What's on my mind? Thinking about the things. Other things is that things that keep me up and thinking with my anxiety is I usually have lots of questions. And sometimes I go ruminating around these questions because they just can't get answered. It's like, why did this happen? Why did this person do this thing? But you don't know why the person, you can't get those answers. So I've also learned to ask myself different questions, like not why did this person do this thing? Why did I respond to this person in that way? Because I can answer that, but I can't answer why they did what they did.
Right.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, those kinds of things. Also just doing stuff that I love. I love being with my family. So I've been with my family for the last year and that's been great.
Mm.
Um, yeah, I think those are like the key things that I've done. Seeing my psychologist I don't see her anymore unless there's something that I feel like I really need to speak about. But that helped me identify things that I needed to work on. So seeing a psychologist, but also when I went to this day clinic, it was very holistic. So it was like not just a psychologist, which helps you with what you're thinking, but also like a dietitian. So what you're
Mm.
eating and recognizing that, oh, you need to listen to your body and the hunger levels and just how you think. Just it was a holistic thing. It was great.
Yeah, that's really important because I know a lot of people think, right, I'm going to see a therapist. I thought that. I'm going to see a
Yeah.
therapist. It's going to fix me. But
Yeah.
it's about
Yeah.
so much
Yeah.
more than that, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's about you as a whole person and seeing yourself as this whole person and taking care of every single part of yourself.
Yes, yes. I think I also thought, oh, go see a psychologist. She's going to fix my problem. That's going to be the resolution. But you go to a psychologist and they don't give you any answers. I was getting so frustrated. Like, just tell me what I need to do. Let me go do the thing and I'll fix it all. But I mean, it's more than that. it's helping you come to the answers yourself, and that's the learnings that you get to. Yeah, and it's I think it's a journey, because it's like I said, you need to know you have a problem first. Sometimes you can't even see that you have a problem. Then you need to identify what is the problem, and once you've done that, how do I fix it, or how do I deal with it, how do I cope with it? Then once you've learned how to deal with it and cope with it, it's practicing it.
Explaining that, yeah.
Yeah, it's not like you find a solution and it's fixed. It's like now you learn to live with it, now you learn to deal with it, and then what happens then? You find the next problem once you sorted that out. So it's just a continuous journey,
isn't it? Life is a continuous
yeah,
of finding problems and then coming up with solutions for them, and then you find the next one. It would be boring if it wasn't like that, wouldn't it?
And that's why, like, with the channel, it's also teaching myself to be kinder to myself, and like, you're always trying to have the answer. This is the right plan, this is what I should be doing, this is the wrong way, this is the right way. But the only time you actually learn is when you just try it, and then you'll see what was right and what was wrong. And I was so afraid to make mistakes. I wanted everything to be right, everything to be planned, know everything. But it actually doesn't work like that. You just sometimes need to do it and see what happens.
And like your channel says today, I made a mistake. You learned from every mistake that you made, didn't you? And that's what's important, is you've got to have that mindset of openness. That willing to learn. You're willing to acknowledge that this isn't right. Something needs to change.
Yeah.
Okay, so my takeaway from today is you must have a holistic approach.
Definitely. There's never one side of it, or one solution. There's always a different way to do it. And then also just be very kind to yourself as you go on the journey, because it's a journey.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Except it's a journey without an end, because it only ends when you're dead.
Yep. I mean, yeah, we're here to learn, I guess. We're here to learn about ourselves. And if you're perfect, then you're no longer here, because you've learned everything.
You're in nirvana. Exactly.
Yeah.
And the struggle is preferable to the alternative, because the alternative is you're asleep in your grave.
Yeah, I guess.
Well, thank you so much, Marcelle. Thank you so much for joining me today. It was really having you on my channel, and maybe I'll catch up with you in 6 months' time and see how it's going after you've rejoined the corporate world. See what mechanisms you've taken with you and what has helped you the most.
Okay. Yeah, I'm excited to see as well, because I have no idea what's going to happen, but I know that I have the tools and the skills, but I don't know what's going to happen. So let's see.
That's right. A positive mindset. That's what I like to see. Very much, Marcelle. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for taking the time. I know you're really busy getting ready to go and rejoin your corporate world. So thanks so much for this today.
No problem. I look forward to watching of the content on your channel.
Thanks. Oh yeah, and coming up next, my next video is going to be about the triune brain.
Ooh. So, yes, you were saying.
Yeah,
that's exciting. I'm excited.
Thanks.
That was something that I learned a lot about the brain, because it has such a huge effect on everything. So yeah, awesome. Take care.
Thanks, you too. Bye-bye.
Bye.